Welcome back, Canisius College, the hashtag Griff Sports. I'm Joe Rutigliano, and today I'm rejoined by Griff enthusiast, and middle hitter for the women's volleyball team, Roxanne Hernandez. Welcome back, Rox.
Glad to be back, Joe. Today we'll take a look at the past wins and losses for Griffin sports teams, including the men and women's lacrosse team, as well as softball and baseball. We'll also preview some upcoming matchups for the Griffins. So let's start with baseball.
Sounds like a good idea to me, Roxanne. The team took on Manhattan at the Dembski Sports Complex on March 29th. And came out on top with a 4-3 victory over the Jaspers. And then in the second half of that doubleheader, the Griffs came away with a big shutout, 10-0 win. And in the game on Sunday, the Griffs picked up the sweep with a big 10-6 W and really set them apart in the pack for the MAC.
That's right. Fast forward to April 5th, the Griffs began their three-game matchup against Fairfield with a 4-2 win over the Stags. Later that day, the Griffs lost 4-3 against Fairfield, and in the third and final matchup, the Griffs lost 4-3 again, with senior outfielder Shane Zimmer offering one run for the Griffs, as well as junior first baseman Connor Panis and senior powerhouse Mike Krish. Excuse me, he's not a senior, but
that's all right. Thanks, Rox. And now to women's lacrosse, the Griffs took on Iona on March 29th in New Rochelle and came away with a big 19-12 victory over the Gales. It was 10-10 at one point in the second half, but the Griffs went on a 9-0 run. And then the team returned back to the Dembski on April 2nd to face off against the Red Foxes of Marist, and a tough fight for the Griffs. The Griffs took a 10-9 lead. However, an illegal stick causes the goal not to count, and Marist went down and scored with about 20 seconds left, so the Griffs fall in this one 10-9. Then they headed over to Hamden, Connecticut to take on Quinnipiac in a big game. This is Quinnipiac's first game against Canisius in the MAC, and the Griffs come away with a big 23-15 victory. The Griffs were led by Maria Kotis with 8 goals and 6 assists. Also, Megan Cuddy had 3 goals for the Griffs. Also, yesterday, the Griffs took on Siena, coming away with a big 20-8 victory over the Saints. The Griffs were led by Maria Kotis and Tori Quinn with 4 goals apiece. Ashley Bowles set a school record in draw controls, coming up with 10.
And moving over to the men's lacrosse team, they traveled to Siena to play the Saints on March 29th and lost 10-7. The team then returned back to the Dembski on April 5th to defeat the Manhattan Jaspers with a score of 9-4. The team was led by freshman Jeff Edwards with 3 goals and 2 assists, and sophomore Vince Scravino had 3 goals of his own.
Yeah, and the softball team had 3 doubleheaders in the span of 7 days, and in the first one, the Griffs took on UB, and the Griffs were able to overcome a 7-0 deficit in the 4th inning to come back to win 8-7. Sophomore Megan Kuda belted a 3-run bomb in the comeback, which to lead the Griffs.
And later that day, the Bulls came back and defeated the Griffs with a score of 6-3. On April 6th, the Griffs lost both games against the Iona Gales with final scores of 10-8 and a 5-inning game loss of 16-6.
Yeah, and the following day, the Griffs started their doubleheader with the Fairfield Stags with a tough 7-0 loss, but the Griffs returned to earn a 3-0 victory against the Stags. The Griffs outfielders Michelle Del Prince and Tori Napo, along with infielder Megan Kuda, scored the big runs for the Griffs.
Now let's look ahead and see what's to come this week in #Griff Sports. The baseball team has a busy week ahead of them, including 4 home games against the Siena Saints and the Bonnies of St. Bonaventure. The women's lacrosse team returns to the Dembski Sports Complex on April 12th to take on the Manhattan Jaspers, and the men's lacrosse team will travel away this week to compete against the Quinnipiac Bobcats as well as the Binghamton Bearcats. The Griffs then return back to the Dembski to compete against the cadets of the Virginia Military Institute. The softball team has 3 doubleheaders in the next week, all of them being away, where they will compete against St. Bonaventure, Manhattan, and the Robert Morris Colonials.
You know what? Heck of a job on that mouthful, Rox. That was great. That's what's coming up in this week and for action for the Griffs. Coming up next for us, Alex Bielman will be in studio to talk women's lacrosse and hockey. And as always, we'll have the Golden Performer of the Week. Stay right there.
One day that we had just done the cardiovascular unit, in class that day. And then right after class, I went over to the Vascular Institute, volunteered, put the scrubs on. And one of the doctors asked me if I wanted to see an open heart surgery. And so I said, yeah, really? Sure.
I came into Canisius as obviously as a freshman, not really sure what I wanted to do. I ended up taking a digital media arts class, and that really just kind of jump-started, my career.
And I think being where we are in the city and in the world with the medical campus that we have here is really an opportunity that I wouldn't have anywhere else.
It's more than just academics. Meet different people. Go out and do things. There's so much more to college. It's an experience.
I instantly fell in love with doing video work, graphic design. I started pursuing more and more opportunities in the school, whether it was doing admissions videos on the sides. I did a couple videos for alumni relations, the president of the college, and then I actually got noticed last year, and they sent me over to the Philippines to create a feature-length documentary.
I lived with a host family while I took classes in Spanish with Spanish professors at the University of Oviedo, and I was a Spaniard for a semester, and it was the best decision I made as a college student.
And we're back here at Hashtag Griff Sports. I'm Roxanne Hernandez, joined by Alex Bielman. Alex, we're going to talk a little bit about women's lacrosse first. They just had their 20-8 victory over Siena. That's actually their second game posting 20 or more goals. That they advanced to 3-1 in the MAC. After their 10-9 loss to Marist, tell us a little bit about how they responded to that loss to come back so well.
Well, the thing about the women's lacrosse team, not just this year, but for the last 3 years, it's always been about just being better every day. And I can tell you that they weren't going to take that loss lying down. I talked to a few of the players after the game. They were very upset with themselves, with how they played. They didn't blame anyone or anything except for themselves. And Maria Cotis told me, she said, you can bet that the next time Marist comes in here when it counts, that they're not going to beat us again.
I'm talking about senior Maria Cotis. She just scored her 100th goal not too long ago. She's had 20 points or more in her last 2 games. A little bit more about the senior class. How do they raise the bar in hopes to go for that 4P title?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because that's kind of like their phrase, their saying, their mantra this season is raising the bar. And that's not just something that they have printed on the back of their T-shirts or that they just mindlessly spit out after games. It's something that they believe in. Talking to Coach Teeter, talking to the seniors, it's just something that they, I guess, do. You know, it's how they play, it's how they approach practice, workouts, games, and it's really been effective this year. And I think they are really determined to set that bar higher and get that 4th MAC championship, and hopefully this year win an NCAA tournament game.
That's right. We talked a little bit about Maria, with Maria actually, when she came to the studio. Moving off the field, back onto the ice. The last we checked in with the seniors who actually went ahead and progressed in their professional career, we talked a little bit about Kyle Gibbons. He's had 3 points in his last 7 games. How have you spoken to Kyle? Do you know how he's feeling over at Toledo?
I have spoken to Kyle. I just spoke to him yesterday, actually, and he told me he feels like he's fitting in pretty well over in Toledo. Like you said, 3 points in his first 7 games there, all assists. He's been getting top line minutes. He's been getting big minutes, power play. He thinks he fits in pretty well over there. And the one surprising thing for me was that he said the biggest difference is the physicality and the technicality of it all. Usually when guys move on from college to a higher rank, they say that the difference is the speed. That's not the case for Kyle. He said it's the physicality and the fact that guys are more technically sound, more positionally sound.
Okay. Rumors about another senior maybe not faring as well as Kyle, Ben Danford. His professional future a little bit in question due to his injury. Do you have anything to say about that?
I wouldn't say it's in question. Okay. Obviously, the way things work with Ben is he signed a contract with the Elmira Jackals of the ECHL, and right away he was called up to the Manchester Monarchs of the AHL because of injuries on their blue line. So I think that speaks to his own skill to be called up to the AHL right away. And what happened was it's a knee injury. He sprained his MCL, I believe, which is a 3 to 4 week injury. I don't know that he'll rejoin Manchester for the playoffs, for the Calder Cup playoffs. But my understanding is that he played very well in his 3 games, and I think that helps his professional future more than hurts it.
Okay, and you spoke a little bit about, or just mentioned, the Elmira Jackals, excuse me. Originally, Tony Capobianco was supposed to head over there. Things have changed since then.
Yeah, according to my sources, they signed Ottawa, who is the NHL parent club of the Elmira Jackals, signed a major junior goalie and sent him down to Elmira. And because of that, Capobianco's agent told him just to leave, that it wasn't a good situation for him. But once again, last year he had been invited to the Wilds rookie camp, and I think he has a bright professional future ahead of him. And also, Taylor Law has just signed a contract with Elmira a couple days ago. He's played in 2 games and has 2 goals. So
Right. Definitely exciting to see what the rest of the future has in store for the Griffins. Thanks, Alex, for joining us. And when you come back, Joe will be rejoining me, and when we come back.
thank you.
Wake the sun, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
And we are back on Hashtag Griff Sports, rejoined by Joe. By now, I'm sure you've heard all the news about Steve Masiello's terminated contract with Southern Florida, but Canisius grad Nick Veronica dug up even more details on what that contract could have meant for Masiello.
Yeah, and it turns out Masiello's missing out on a pretty big chunk of cash, $7 million with all the considerations. It's on the screen right now. He also would have been provided with a country club membership for his entire family and a car courtesy of the university. Rocks. That's like throwing away, that's like flushing all of your George Washingtons, all your Abraham Lincolns, Franklins, everything down the toilet.
Screen, he's got to be kicking himself.
He's
even just base salary of $415,000.
I mean, Manhattan's Manhattan, but like South Florida, the weather, the golf, the everything, like.
Anyway,
I don't know.
moving on.
It's
On a
okay.
more positive note.
Well, and on that note, actually, Manhattan said that after he finishes his degree, as weird as that sounds, they're going to bring him back as the coach. So that's an interesting note.
We'd like to congratulate a member of our own team here, John Langley, on being named the new sports editor of the Griffin. I don't know about you, Joe, but I think he's come a long way since this photo was
Holy
taken
cow.
while working at Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, John Langley. You know, we love him here at
Definitely.
#Griff Sports, and that picture, you know, just hi, welcome to Good Burger. All right, well, let's wrap up this show here. We've got our Golden Performer of the Week, and it is Maria Kotis. She scored 8 goals to go along with 6 assists, 14 points, setting a school record for a single game, and the 14 points were also good for 4th all-time in Division I history in a single game. So
Make sure to follow us at Griff Sports 4 on Twitter, and also follow www.griffintv.net for all of your Griff Sports news. And from all of us here at #Griff Sports, I'm Roxanne Hernandez.
and I'm Joe Retigliano. Good night, and go Griffs.